Hello and welcome to Sunday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I firstly need to get my excuses in early. I have had a lot to drink at lunchtime today. We entertained for the first time really since COVID, I suppose, an old friend of mine from school, Nigel Cornish, and his wife and his delightful children. So Hattie, Jemima and Tristan, we enjoyed your company very much. Probably too much for me to now to attempt to record a Sudoku video, but there we go. Yeah, that's my job today, is to solve this puzzle somehow, which is going to be interesting. It's called Yin Yang Vaults, and it's by Schwupel. At least I seem to be able to read. That's good. Schwupel, I think Mark has done a Schwupel puzzle before, but I don't think I have. I may be wrong about that. If I am, forgive me. It won't be the first mistake I make in this video, I am quite sure. And I'll read you the rules of this one in just a moment. It's been recommended to us by a few people, including, if I'm not mistaken, Dying Flutchman. So it ought to be brilliant. But before we get cracking with the rules, Finola, you have turned 29 today. Your boyfriend Matthias wrote to us, and Matthias assured us, Finola, that you were going to get an enormous amount of cake today. So I hope you've had a brilliant birthday, and that cake duly arrives, of course. Other than that, I haven't got I haven't got a lot of other news. We've got our 500,000 subscribers treat for those of you, well, for anybody actually. You can just download the free app. It's on Steam, it's on App Store, it's on Android. Just download the Cracking the Cryptic app, choose the pack that's called 500,000 Special or something, and play 23 of the most delightful puzzles you will ever have the pleasure of attempting. And just give yourself a lot of joy. What could be wrong with that? Nothing. And then the other thing that's going on is of course on Patreon, where not only have we got September's monthly reward, which is, well, that's been going since the 1st of September. And it's running until the 20th of September, and we've had thousands of it. Well, not thousands. We've had about 1,500 correct entries so far to that. So do have a go at it if you haven't had a go and you're a patron. It really is worth doing. But the other thing we've got on Patreon today, actually, it's already live, is that Mark has solved a recent listener crossword. The listener is probably the hardest regularly published crossword in the world. And Mark had a go at it 3 weeks ago and recorded his attempt. So that's available over on Patreon now. So if you like your cryptic crossword content, I'm sure you will enjoy that. Now, I've got no more excuses and I need to get on with this video. Believe it or not, it's 6:30 UK time. So I have left myself 2 hours before this video needs to actually go live, which is dramatically short time. I am dramatically short of time. So let me get on with the rules. The rules are as follows. Place the digits 1 to 9 once each into every row, column and 3x3 box. So that's just normal Sudoku rules. I'm confusing myself now. Shade some cells in the grid such that all shaded cells are connected orthogonally and all unshaded cells are connected orthogonally. No 2x2 box may be fully shaded or fully unshaded. Okay, so that's yin-yang rules. And clues outside the grid give the sum of the first continuous block of shaded cells seen from that direction. So let's just think about what that means. If that cell was, I have to have a colour for unshadedness, we'll have green. If that cell was unshaded and this cell was shaded, then we would know that this cell was shaded as well, because we know that the first shaded block from this direction, from the direction of the 16, has to add up to 16. Now you can't just put 16 in one cell of the Sudoku. There is a knowledge bomb for you from Cracking the Cryptic. It must be at least 2 cells. So that could be, not an I want to say a 7-9 pair. And then that could be green. And that, I think, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think that is a valid way of filling that 16 clue. So hopefully that's correct. There we are. Now there are more rules. Blue cages are vaults. Digits may repeat within a vault, and any digit within a vault must not appear in any cells orthogonally adjacent to that vault. Oh, good grief. This is going to be Sudoku crazy, isn't it? So that means if this cage here has a 5 in it, whoa, I didn't mean to do that. If that's got a 5 in it, then no cell orthogonally adjacent to this vault. So none of those cells, or that one actually, I missed one out. None of those cells could be a 5, I think is what that means. But there's one more rule. The largest digit in any given vault is equal to the number of shaded cells inside that vault. The largest digit in any given vault is equal to the number of shaded cells inside that vault. So if we did put a 5 in there, that would be saying that, okay, well, it would depend on whether there was a 6 in there actually. But let's say 5 was the biggest number in this vault. That would mean 5 of the cells in that vault have to be shaded. I think that's how that works. Now let's just quickly revisit the Yin Yang rules to check everyone understands those. So basically what that means is, because we have to connect all the shaded and the unshaded cells together, let me try and draw a sort of tree diagram that might work here. So we could do this and this and this. I'm probably going to fail to do this miserably, but I'm going to try. That and that. Right, let's highlight all those cells. And ta-da! Okay, I think that is a reasonable yin-yang grid. I might be wrong. I might have missed a 2x2. I might have missed... I can't see what I've missed. I think all the green cells are orthogonally connected, i.e. they all share an edge. I think all the grey cells are orthogonally connected, and I don't think there are any 2x2s of anything. But that could be wrong. But I didn't mean to. If I've left a 2x2 in, I really didn't mean to. So that's how yin-yang rules work. Anyway, let's get on with this. This is going to be an absolute disaster. I am not thinking straight at all. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And the first thing we shall do is... oh dear. We shall... or maybe before we get started, I should run through the secrets of yin-yang. Because they are, I do know secrets about yin-yang. Let me just tell you what they are. You can never have a checkerboard arrangement in a yin-yang puzzle. Because if you do, how do you connect these greens together with an orthogonal connection? And the answer to that is it's perfectly possible to do that. We could do this sort of thing. But if we do that, and in doing that, we will mean that this grey cell and this grey cell cannot connect to each other. Because you can't orthogonally connect these, having orthogonally connected the greens. So you can never have a checkerboard in a yin-yang. And the other secret about yin-yang is that the perimeter of a yin-yang must only have two stretches of colour. It must have a stretch of grey and a stretch of green, and nothing else in between. And that's because, not just because it rhymes, that's because, let's just draw some things in here. Let's imagine they were green, and these were grey. And let's say we were going to try, well, let's in fact say we weren't sure about this cell here. And we thought, oh, we might want to make that grey. Well, we can't make this grey. Because if we make this grey, when we connect this grey to this side of the grid, and however we do it, it doesn't matter how we wend our way around the meadow that is this Sudoku grid, we will end up with a position where these greens cannot connect to these greens. It's a bit like the checkerboard argument. So that means that the perimeter of any yin-yang puzzle must just have one stretch of greeniness and one stretch of greyiness. So that would be a valid perimeter. So they're my two yin-yang secrets there. I've said it and I've shared them with you. But what I'm going to do to start the puzzle is write in. I'm going to start here. Because this vault, well, it must have at least a 3 in it. Because the minimum I can make those cells would be a 1, 2, 3 triple. But it can't actually have a 4 in this vault, because if it had a 4 in the vault, that would be saying that there are 4 shaded cells in the vault. I think that's what the rule said. The largest digit in any given vault is equal to the number of shaded cells inside that vault. Yes, so there cannot be a 4 in there, yet there must be a 3 in there. So that must be a 1, 2, 3 triple. And what's more, because we know there's a 3 in there, they are all shaded by the medium of greyness. Now, this 16 clue looks interesting now, because remember, we can't have 2x2s of anything. So I want to say that this can't be grey. Is that really true? If that's grey, have I broken the puzzle? The answer is I think so. It's not perhaps the most brilliant answer ever, but I think that's true. I think it's now broken, because I'd have a choice at this juncture. I've got to avoid grey 2x2s. So that means I've got to do double green here. I can't put 16 in this cell because that just is silly. So I'd have to put 16 in this cell and thereby be equally silly, and none of that works. So in fact, we can say that cell is green. Now that makes me think these two cells are going to be a 7-9 pair, and they're going to be grey, and that's going to be green by 2x2 rules. And the reason that that is forced is... No, actually, maybe it's not forced. No, hang on. Maybe they can be green. I can put some 16s over here. So ignore me. Let's instead, maybe we just do this cage, do we? So this one's got to be 1, 2, 3, or 4. But... well done, brain. This cannot be a 4. Well, this cage here, it could have a 4 in it. From the point of view there are 4 cells in the vault, but it can't have a 4 in it, because if it has a 4 in it, all 4 of its cells are shaded, and that immediately breaks the rules of the puzzle, because the rules of the puzzle say no 2x2 box may be fully shaded. So there is no 4 in there, which means the maximum size of digit is 3. Now, actually, I'm just seeing we've got 1, 2, 3 triples in these two columns. And that is interesting, because here is a facetious question. Can both of these cells be a 3? Well, the answer to that's no. That's going to break the rules of Sudoku in row 7. So as both of these cannot be 3, in this or this 1, 2, 3 triple, there must be a 3 up here. Now, if there's a 3 up here, that tells us that this 2x2 cage has 3 grey cells in it and only 1 green cell. And that is almost interesting. I feel like that's suggesting that this cell can't be grey. If that cell's grey, it has to be a 2, doesn't it? And that would have to be green, and these would have to be a 1-3 pair. And that would mean... I don't know. I don't think... Maybe that's not impossible. Sorry. So, okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3 triples in columns 3 and 4. And we've got... what else is it we've got to do? I've got nothing yet in the perimeter. I need to get something in the perimeter, because the perimeter is so powerful in Yin Yang. I've got... Do I just have to keep going with the vaults, perhaps? That's an 8-cell vault. That's an 8-cell vault. I don't really want to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 into that vault, I have to say. That's a... here's a small point. This is a 6-cell vault, but it can't have a 6 in it. Because if it has a 6 in it, if this vault has a 6 in it, all 3 of those are shaded. And if all 3 of those are shaded, they have to add up to 5. And the minimum you can make 3 digits add up to in a Sudoku, if they have to be different, is 6 with 1, 2, and 3. So the maximum digit we can have in here is 5. And that is interesting, believe it or not, because that means that these digits have to be selected from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I've now got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple in row 3, which means I've now got a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple in row 3. And that means... okay, well this is powerful, isn't it? Because now this 2 clue is suddenly interesting. Those two cells definitely can't be 2s, so they have got to be green. One of these two can be a 2. These two can't be a 2. Can that be a 1? I'm wondering whether it's really possible for this to be a 1-3 pair and say this square to be a 2. Oh, yeah, that might be possible. Good grief. I'm wondering whether this is possible. 2 there, 5 there, and make that square green. Is that possible? It would be rotten luck if it was, but I don't see why it's not possible. So actually we can't do any more shading. We get these, well, I get a perimeter cell. We can do, oh dear. Come on, drunk brain, work. Do something. Tell me something. Right, there's got to be a 4. Yeah, in this quintuple, the 4 and the 5 in this quintuple are on the right hand side of it. Now that means that cell can't be a 4 or 5, but I don't think it means these two can't be 4 or 5 because we can repeat digits in volts. So that means, I suppose that means 5 of these. Ah, yeah, okay, well that means 5 because, yeah, I know what it means. Okay, so 5 of these cells are shaded, but we know those 3 cannot be shaded. So that means those 3 must be shaded. And one of these is unshaded only. Which is nearly cool, but not perhaps as cool as I was hoping. 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, that cannot be 9, because if that was a 9, that would be saying 9 cells in this 8-cell region were shaded, and that doesn't work. And I've got a digit. I've got a digit. You can write, let me tell you, you can write a 9 into this puzzle, and it's probably, well, it's been available from the first moment that we started the puzzle. I just didn't notice it at all. Silly drunk brain isn't working. But you can write a 9 into the puzzle. Pause the video if you can't see how. For those of you who managed to do it, congratulations. That cell there is a 9. Why do I think this cell is a 9? Well, it's just because in this column, we have to ask where 9 goes. And 9 cannot go in an 8-cell cage in this puzzle, or an 8-cell vault in this puzzle, because that would say 9 of the 8 cells in the vault have to be shaded, which is not possible. So now that cell's not a 9, which means one of these cells is a 9, which means one of these cells is a 9, which means that, well, it means we've got to put 8 in this column. So, okay, that's interesting. Oh, this is beautiful. This is actually beautiful. Even my inebriated state can appreciate how clever this is. Okay, so we've got to put 8 in this column. Now, wherever we put the 8, it's going to fully shade its vault. Well, the 8 cannot be down here, because if I fully shade those cells, these 4 cells have to add up to 8. And the minimum 4 cells can add up to is the triangular number 4, which is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, which is 10. So that's nonsense. So that means the 8 is up here, which means this whole cage is shaded because it's got an 8 in it. Now the other thing that's meaning is that that cell is not an 8, because of the funny rule that said something about you can't have a digit in a vault may not appear in any cells orthogonally adjacent to that vault. So that cannot be an 8 because there is an 8 in this vault. Not that vault, this vault. So, 2 by 2 rule. So this cell, actually, and this cell have got to be green, because we can't have a 2 by 2 of one colour. Now, oh, and that one's the same, actually, I've just noticed. Oh, hang on, is that... What's that done for the price of bread? So now I don't quite know if that's done something useful or not. I've got to put... Well, actually it has done something useful, I think. I think it's removed the weird possibility we were looking at, where we had a 2 here and a 5 here. So now the 2 in this row cannot be here, because if that's a 2, we need a 5 to be shaded here. Let me just explain. If that's a 2 and this 2 is pointing at this, then this is shaded, but that would mean this is unshaded, thereby breaking the 5 clue, which doesn't work. So actually, there is a 2 in one of those cells, and therefore there is no 2 over here. So, well, that's also interesting, because it means one of those 2 cells is shaded, but the other one isn't, because if both of those were shaded, that would be a 2 by 2 again. So either we've got a 5 in, say, this cell as a shaded cell, so we could have like a shaded cell that was a 5 and then this would be green, or those 2 cells have to add up to 5, which would mean they couldn't be a 2-3 pair, they'd have to be a 1-4 pair. So one of those things is true, but I don't think we know which of those things is true. Which is very annoying. So how do we make more progress now? I have not got a clue. Why can't I just see what to do? I can't see what to do. We can say with some certainty that it's got to be a 4 and a 5 over here. Well, that's fine, isn't it? I think that's fine. I don't think that affects the other grey cells. So right, so we must have to do something with yin yang logic. Let us instead argue about the nature of... Okay, well hang on. I have got some grey here. And I have got some green here. Right, I've got something small, but I'm going to say it anyway. The bottom row must have some grey in it. And we know that because of this 31 clue. So somewhere along this row, there is a grey streak that's going to add up to 31. Now, how are we going to connect that grey streak to this grey streak? Bear in mind that we can only have 2 continuous sections in the perimeter. We're going to have to connect this to this along the right hand side because we can't get through this green cell. So that means, well, we don't know where this 31 clue is, although it's interesting actually, because in order to connect this to this, we always have to take that cell, so all of those are shaded. And now that sort of starts the 31 clue. Now 31 cannot be done in 6 cells because 6, 7, 8, 9 only add up to 30. So I think there's a 5-cell string there, at least, that adds up to 31. That cell's got to be green to avoid a 2 by 2. Now, what does that mean? Well, I'm wondering about the bottom row now, actually. Because this whole thing that I was talking about, which says that the perimeter of a yin-yang puzzle can only be split up into one shaded section and one unshaded section. Well, we know that this 31, let's say this 31 accounts for those 5 cells, then this cell would have to be green. But the moment we make that cell green, we know that the greens have to connect around the perimeter, so we'd have to make all of those green. So wherever the first green comes in along here, it's going to force a connection to here. So all of these have to be green. Which means that cell's got to be grey to avoid a 2 by 2. Oh, this is lovely. Right, and now that cell's got to be green because I can't just write 16 into that cell. So this cell's got to be grey to avoid a 2 by 2. Right, now here's an interesting thought. Is it possible? How many greys can we have in the top of the grid here? Not many. Because if, for example, well, we cannot have 2 consecutive sections of these dominoes being grey because that's going to create 2 by 2s of grey. So at least up to, yeah, if this cell was grey, that cell would be green but couldn't connect to these greens because we need to connect this grey to here, and that's going to cut off the green. So that cell definitely cannot be grey. That's got to be green, which means all of those cells have got to be green, which means this cell's got to be grey, which means this cell is a 5, because that's what that clue tells us. And if this cell is a 5, I don't know. Well, hang on, I can carry on with this logic along the top, can't I? If that cell's grey, that's green, and that breaks the puzzle, so that cell's green. Same logic must apply there, same logic must apply there. So actually, I've got loads of green across the top as a result of that, which feels somehow important. Now, can we use the secret on the bottom row? Because there are more secrets in Sudoku than just the yin-yang logic. The other secret of Sudoku, the real secret, and this is something I only tell my favourite people, even when drunk, is that any complete row of Sudoku adds to 45 because it contains the digits 1 to 9 once each. So, if this row adds up to 45, but the grey cells, however long they extend, add up to 31, the green cells have got to add up to 14, which must be done in at least 2 cells because you can't just write 14 here. So that's green. This is great. This is amazing. So that's green, which to avoid a 2 by 2 forces this to be grey, which to avoid a 2 by 2 forces that to be green, which to avoid a checkerboard forces this to be green. Oh, that was magic for a moment, and then it's just stopped. No, I can keep going. This clue, I was thinking, can I make this cell green because of the 8 clue? But I can't, because there's an 8 up there, so I can't just write 8 in there as a solitary clue. That will not work, because the 8's in the grey cells at the top of column 6. So this cell must grow to reach its count of 8. Now that's interesting, because now I've got to avoid a 2 by 2 there and a 2 by 2 there, so they have got to be green. Which means that... what does that mean? That means that I know there's a grey in one of these. I've got my 5 dealt with. Oh dear, I don't know. I don't know what this means. 31 could be 6 cells, couldn't it? Because, yeah, the corollary of that is saying those could add up to 14, which they certainly could, but so could those. Oh, I tell you what I've not thought about, and that's this cage. That is an 8-cell cage, but the maximum number we can put in it is 7, because this cell must be green in it. Now, I can get that digit. Right, here's a point. The reason I can get this digit is weird, but it's because I can't put 7 into this cage, because if I do, I have to shade those 2 cells, and by shading those 2 cells we'd be saying that all of these add up to 8, which is clearly nonsense. So at least one of these has got to be green. And that means that because I can't put 7, into this vault, 7 in this column has got to be up here, which means that cell cannot be 7 by the silly rule. So that's a 6, that's not a 6. Those are not 6. And let me just think about this. I've got 5 shaded cells in this vault already, and I can have a maximum of 1 more. So the maximum digit in here is 6. Is it possible for both of those to be green? Then the maximum digit down here would be 5. I don't know. It might be is the, it might be is the real answer. Okay. So instead of thinking about this, how can we do 5 by Sudoku? There's got to be a 5 in those 2 cells. There's a 5 there, so there's a 5 in one of those 2 cells. Now that's it's near. I've realised it. I've got it. Okay, I got it weirdly. I got it from this 5. I suddenly realised that because there's a 5 in there, there can't be a 5 in this vault. But what's wrong with me arguing that about 6? If there's a 6 orthogonally adjacent to this vault, there cannot be a 6 in this vault. If there cannot be a 6 in this vault, there must be a 6 in these cells at the bottom of column 6. That's really, really clever. Not by me, I hasten to add, but by Schwupel. So now one of these is shaded, and one of them is unshaded, which is a little bit interesting. But there's also got to be a 5 down here by absolutely identical logic. Actually, you know what? There's got to be a 2 down here as well, because there's a 2 in one of those cells, and that's connected to this cage. So we've almost worked out what goes at the bottom of this cage now, which is really weird. So the other digit of So the other digit of 1 or 3 that's in this domino has to go at the bottom of this cage. So we now know that these 4 digits are made up entirely of 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6, which means these digits at the top are made up of 7s, 8s, 4s. 4s, 7s, 8s. That one can't be 4. And whatever's not used here, so 1s and 3s. That feels like I should understand how to do that, but I'm afraid I don't. Oh dear. How do we resolve this little dilemma? We can resolve it by... I'd love to know how this works, I think. Is that... If I knew what these 3 digits were, I would know what these 2 digits were, and I would know how this vault works. So how do we get to that? How do we understand what's going on with that? I don't know. Can I do any more with the perimeter? Maybe that's the thing to think about. So if this cell was green, all of those would be green. Is there anything wrong with that? Then this would be grey. This would be grey. Oh, I think I'm getting into checkerboard land there. I might have misvisualised that, but let me just explain what I'm thinking. If that's green, all those have to be green. This has to be grey now to avoid a 2 by 2. This has to be grey to fulfill the 5 clue. And now what on earth do we do with this clue? This cell, we cannot make a checkerboard, so it's got to not be green, but we cannot make it grey without penning in this little domino. So I don't think this cell can be green. That's got to be grey, which means it's part of the 5, which means this cell is not a 3, because we'd need a 2 next to it if that was a 3. That's actually not that helpful. This could still be 5, 1 or 4, I think. So, actually, hang on a minute. Let me think about this. Now I'm worried about this being green. How does that... Yeah, that doesn't work, does it? If that's green, that's got to be grey. And now I've got to avoid a checkerboard here, which means that has to be grey. But in making that grey, I make a 2 by 2. That doesn't work. This is complicated. I feel that there's an easier way of doing this. But it's still important though, because now I've worked out this is not green, it's grey. And if that's grey, to avoid a 2 by 2, that's green. Oh, this green hasn't got out, so those two have got to be green. This avoids a checkerboard, so that's got to be grey. This has got to avoid a 2 by 2, so that's got to be green, and this green has to connect to its friends. So even with Drunken Simon operating, I've still managed to do something. It's not been a total disaster. Those two, oh right, those two cells have to add up to 5, so neither of those can be a 5. Oh, I see, they're a 1-4 pair. Okay, they're a 1-4 pair, so that's not a 1. This is not a 1 or a 4. There's got to be a 5 in here, though, by Sudoku. So that's a 5. This is a 1-4 pair. This is not... Oh, this is beautiful. I understand. Right. So this is a 2-3 domino, which now means this vault can't have a 3 in it. And if this vault can't have a 3 in it, the 3's down here, which means that these cells down here are now 2, 3, 5 and 6, I think. Which means these cells up here have to include a 1. That's not able to be a 1. It sees 1 here. So this is 1, 4, 7 and 8. Now, what does that mean? I don't know, but I think we're getting somewhere all of a sudden. Let me think. We've done good work at the top of the grid. And I haven't got a clue where to look now. We can instead think about... I know there's a 6, don't I, in this vault. So, okay, so there's exactly one of these two cells has got to be grey, because both of them can't be grey. And it's not possible for both of them to be green, because then there would only be 5 shaded cells in a region that contained a 6. So, right, so that means that this is effectively the bride, isn't it? And it's got to make its way down an aisle that we're going to create here towards a groom on the left-hand side. This green area here on the right is not connected to anything, so it's going to have to go through one of these two cells to reach the green on the left. Oh, I see. No, this is easier. This is easier than I'm making it. The way to do this is to appreciate that this 8 can't be 3 cells now, because a 3 cell sum summing to 8 needs to have a 1 in it. So that means this is a 2 cell sum, which means this cell's grey. Now if that cell's grey, that cell's green by the magic of 2 by 2ness. Avoid a checkerboard means that's green. Avoid a 2 by 2 means this is grey. This is clever. And this, right, so now this is the aisle by which the bride on this right hand side is going to travel and meet the groom on the left. So that's got to be green. What on earth is going on now? We've now got... Oh, there's a 1, 2, 3 triple looking at that cell. So let's use that. This cell's got to be 5 or 6 now. So the aisle is a 5 or a 6. Oh dear. What? I mean, I have to say, at this point, I'm thinking, how does this resolve itself? Like, uniquely. There really don't seem to be enough clues here. Oh, 16 clue. Do all of those have to be grey? Hang on, let me think about that for a second or two. 16 clue. I need to connect. Well, actually, yes, they do. All three of those have to be grey, because this is only 2, 3, 5 or 6. So whatever I put into that cell would not be enough to get that total up to 16. So those are all grey. Therefore this is green by 2 by 2 logic. This, oh, I see, the bride has not yet convened with the groom, look. This green is still isolated, so we've got to take that cell, which means this cell is grey to avoid a 2 by 2. Wow. So now, what on earth is going on now? How do we resolve this top left bit? There are no clues looking at it. There are literally no clues looking at it. One of these has to be a 1. Because if this was a 2-3 pair, both of those cells would be a 1 because of the 1, 2, 3 triple. So one of those is a 1, which means that is not a 1. This grey has to connect to its friends. Good grief, I haven't got a clue how to do this. I feel like I'm missing a very important aspect of this puzzle, because I don't think it should be this difficult now, should it? I've basically almost done the yin yang. And when you've almost done the yin yang, surely you can do the Sudoku. Oh no. What's going wrong? Brain, why hath you forsaken me? I don't know. Oh, no. What I was about to say was absolute gibberish. Oh, hang on. I know what it is. Oh, it's really simple. Right, it's really simple. It's just my brain doesn't work. The reason it's simple is how many of those cells are grey? And the answer is 1. Because, well, for many reasons, 2 reasons in fact. You can't make a 2 by 2 there of grey. And also this is a 2 clue, so only one of these is grey, and it's whichever one is the 2. But we know there's a 3 in this region. So there are 3 shaded cells, so these have both got to be shaded, which means this is unshaded to avoid a 2 by 2. Ah, this is beautiful. Right, now, because one of these is grey, this 6 cannot touch its friends by coming through this junction, because one of these is grey, so it's got to connect down there, it's got to connect here, and all we're left with is learning which one of these is the 2. And the answer to that is... It is, oh bobbins, I don't know which one it is. There's a 1 in there, so there's no 1 in there. Oh good grief, I've got no idea what to do now. Okay. I don't think I keep wanting to use this 2, 3 to eliminate 2 and 3 from these 2 cells, because I view this as a killer cage. Of course that would leave both of these cells being a 1, which would be total nonsense. I don't see... Oh, I tell you what, there's got to be a 1, 1 down here, hasn't there? Because in each of these 1, 2, 3 triples there must be a 1, and there's only 1, 1 capable of existing there. So that cell is a 2 or a 3. This 8 is either 2, 6 or 3, 5. Which sort of feels like it might matter. We've got all sorts of... Oh, I understand. Right, I understand. Or do I? Yes, actually I do. I do for once understand. I've seen the light. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I just had flashbacks to Martin Luther King now. Martin Luther King is the great hero of my adult life, and I can quote great swathes of his speeches, but I shouldn't do that in videos. Anyway, yeah, okay, there is a 2, 3 here, a 5, 6 and a 9 touching this vault. That means the only digits I can put in this vault are digits that are not 2, 3, 5, 6 and 9, which means they are, all of these digits are 1, 4, 7 and 8. Now that looks important, doesn't it? Because now all of a sudden, oh, no, this is okay. This digit can't be a 1 or a 4, because it's touching a cage that has a 1 or a 4 in it. So this is a 7, 8 pair, which means this is 7 or 8, which means that's 4 and that's 1. Out of absolutely nowhere. How did we do that? I don't know. That's, where's the 1 in this little world now? It's got to be there. So that's not a 1. This is a 2, 3 pair, so this is a 1. This is a 7, 8 pair, so this is now a 1, 4 pair. It's resolved by the 1 at the bottom. The 1 and the 4 go in. We've got a 7, 8 pair here. It's just amazing, actually. It's really weird the way this works. And for our next trick, we will say these squares have got to be 2, 3 or 5. Oh, no, we won't. There's a 2, 3 pair. Looking at that one, that's got to be a 5, apparently, which is slightly strange. So, do we know what that digit is? I keep looking at these 1s, 4s, 7s, 8s, saying I can eliminate them from here, but I don't think that's reasonable, is it? What about... Oh, hang on, I'm getting confused now. I think I might have broken the puzzle. I'm thinking about box 8. I'm worried about these 4 digits, which all touch a cage that contains 2, 3, 5 and 6. So I want to say that those digits there, which can't be 1, have to be 4, 7, 8 and 9. Is that really true? Because they can't be 1, 1's there, and they can't be anything that appears in this cage, because every one of them is in a cell. Oh no, that one. This is where I've got it wrong. Okay, that's fine. So this digit, it doesn't see all of this cage. So I think I can do 4, 7, 8, 9 into those. That can't be 4, look. So 4 is in one of these 2 positions. So what's this digit now? That... Is it prevented from being... This is doing my head in. I can't work it out. My brain's just shrieking at me now. Oh, why did you have that last glass of wine, you silly man? I don't know. I think that digit's restricted. It's hurting my brain to even think about it. That square's not a 4. 2, 3. Oh, alright. I can do something in this box, I think. Where do 1, 2 and... Well, what? No. Where do 2 and 3 go in this box? Now, I might be wrong about this, but 2 and 3 can't go there by Sudoku. And they can't go in any of those cells because they are all orthogonally next to a cage that contains a 2 and a 3. So 2 and a 3 go in there, which means that cell is not 2 or a 3. So now I've got a 5, 6 pair here, which means this square and this square can't be 5 or 6. So I've now got a 2, 3 pair in this column. And that doesn't resolve the 8 cage at all. Oh, bobbins. 2, 3. 2, 3, 5, 2, 3. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. So instead of that, let us look at can I do better with 1? 1 in this box can't go there because it would be connected to a naughty cage. Oh no, it doesn't really matter. 1 is in one of those 2 cells in box 1. I've just noticed I've got a 7, 8, 9 triple in box 1. Oh, hang on a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, for goodness sake. Right, this is where this gets very difficult. What's that digit? I am going to claim naked singlage over that digit, I think, because it sees a 1, 2, 3 triple in its column, so it's none of those. It sees 4 in the vault it's next to. It sees 5 by Sudoku. It can be 6. It can't be 7 or 8. There's a 7 or 9 because there's a 7, 8, 9 triple there. So that's 6. Now what does that do for the world? So, that does do things. There's a 6, 9 pair over here. That's a 6, 9 pair. So this square is a 2 or a 3 by Sudoku, which means these squares are a 1, 4 pair by Sudoku. Oh, this is going now. 1, 4. This is a 1, 4 pair by Sudoku. So these squares over here are 2, 3, 7. Whoa. They're 2, 3, 7, and 8. I wasn't anticipating this being a lengthy video tonight. Oh no, I'm not going to have time to upload it. What a time. Oh my goodness. I've got to solve this in about 10 minutes from here. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of time to upload it. Oh, good grief. Oh, this is terrifying now. Whoa, you need to be serious now, Simon. You need to be serious. Come on. Come on, Simon. You can do it. How do we do it? We can argue about the nature of everything. These add up to 31, don't they? But I don't know what those 3 cells are. 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, right. Okay. 1. Where does 1 go in this whole row? If 1 is not in the green cells, because these green cells couldn't be 2 or 3, they'd be a minimum of 4, 5, and 6. Now 4, 5, and 6 add up to 15, which is more than 14. Another knowledge bomb. So there is a 1 in one of those, which does nothing. So there's a 1 and 2 cells that add up to 13, which could be 4, 9, 5, 8, or 4, 9, 5, 8, or 6, 7. I can't see what's ruled out there, I have to confess. Might be wrong about that, but I can't see what's ruled out. Okay, what about this column? 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s to be placed. So let's put those in and see if we can see anything clever. 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s to be placed. So that digit is quite restricted, actually. This is massive. This is massive. 6 here. Where does 6 go in this box? I don't know, but it's in one of those 2 cells. Now, why do I think that's interesting? That removes the possibility of this square being a 6. And now I've got a 4, 7, 8, 9 quadruple. So that's a 2 or a 3 by Sudoku. There's a 2, 3 pair in this column, which I don't know if that does anything, to be honest. Oh, come on. That felt like a breakthrough, didn't it? There must be a 4 in here. There must be a 6 in here. Oh, I tell you what I've not thought about. That's this 16 clue. Is that somehow relevant? If that's 2, these two have to add up to 14. They could be 5, 9, which would be 5 here, 9 here, or 6, 8, which would be 6 here and then 8 here. I don't think, and if this is 3, these are adding up to 13, and they look like they've got loads of ways of doing that. So that's not where we look next. So we can look instead at... No. This is a disaster. We can look instead at... Come on, brain, work. What about that digit? That's touching 2 massive vaults. So it can't be 1, 4, 7 or 8 or 2, 3, 5 or... Hang on, that's 8 Oh, for goodness sake, of course, this is a 9. This is just a 9 because it's got to be the same as that digit, because of course this cell sees exactly the same vaults as are in this column. So that's a 9. That's just like a weird naked single. That's not a 9. Does that somehow reveal the nature of the world? So probably what we might have to do here, which is slightly terrifying, is to plot our way around all of the orthogonally connected cells with these vaults to find out what's really going on in them. I don't really want to do that, but we might have to. Okay, let me think about that for a moment or two. This cell, we know there's a 1, 2 and a 3 in this vault, so it's not 1, 2 or 3, it's not 4. It could be 5, it can't be 6, it can't be 7 or 8. They're in that vault. Can it be 9? The answer is maybe, just maybe that could be a 9. Right, but hang on, that digit's the same. This digit is the same, because what I hadn't realised until I just saw it is I've got a 1, 2, 3 triple here. So this cell can be not 1, 2 or 3 or 4. It can be 5. It can't be 6. It can't be 7 or 8 again. So that's 5 or 9. That's massive. I've got a 5, 9 pair here. So these are not 9. So this square is 7 or 8 only because of this triple that we're going to have to acquire. These squares can't include a 9. So there is now a 9 down here. And that means that we can say with some certainty what? I don't know. We can... Does that alter this somehow? Or... Oh dear. Oh, or the 16 clue somehow? Oh, I tell you something, that's a 6 from the 16 clue. Because if that was not a 6, this would be a 7-8 pair, would add to 15 and require this to be a 1. So that's got to be a 6. There we go. I've got a 7-8 pair here now. I've got 6s in one of those 3 cells. I've got... No, that's really done nothing. Okay. Oh dear. This is difficult, actually. I would say that for it. This is difficult. It doesn't just fall over and let us tickle its tummy, does it? We really have to work to understand what's going on. So I've sort of done this 16. I've sort of done this 2. I've done the 5. I've done the 5. I've not really done the 31 because I don't know what these are. And I don't, well, I know a bit about the 8, but not enough to be clever. Now, what do we know about these digits now? Right, that is a sensible question. No, it's not. No, it's not. It would be if I could limit something. I know there's a 9 in one of those. I know there's a 4. So in terms of what these digits can be, they can't be 1. They can't be 4 because there is a 4 in one of those cells. So they've got to be 2, 3, 5, 6. Now the problem is I think they can be 7, 8 or 9. No. Actually no. The reason they can't be 7, 8 or 9, of course, is because I'm only allowed to put 6 as the maximum digit. That's massive. So these are 2, 3, 5 and 6. Ah, so this is massive. Okay, this is massive. Let's just think about this. So this is 2, 3, 5, 6. These squares now can't be 1, 5, 8 or 1, 6, 7. They have to be 1, 4, 9. Therefore, that's not 9. This is not 4. So this is 4 according to my pencil marks. This is a 7, 8 pair I've just found in the bottom row. This is a 1, 4, 9 triple. That's not 1. I don't know if I can get this digit, but that was quite exciting. Now that's got to be a 9 because it can't be a 7 or an 8 because of this pair. So if this is 9 and there's a 9 here, there's a 9 in one of those. Okay. Okie dokie, what does that mean? We can now use, so we now know the contents of this cage, which are 2, 3, 5 and 6. So everything orthogonally adjacent to this cage cannot be 2, 3, 5 or 6. So these digits now are a bit restricted, but maybe not in a meaningful way. They can be 1, 4, 7, 8 or 9, and they can't, none of those can be 9. So these are just 8, so that one is a 7 or an 8. Gosh, that's getting really interesting. But can we do anything with it? I don't think so. I don't see it. I'm really sorry. I know that you're all going to be shouting at me, and I'm feeling drunk and sorry now. I've just tipped over an hour long on this video, which I was thinking was going to be like half an hour. Probably would have been half an hour if I had my brain in. Maybe we've got to start pencil marking the... Oh, actually, I've just realised these 3 digits are seeing that and this one. Okay, so these are where we have to focus now. None of these digits can be 1, 4, 7, 8 or 9. So the only things they can be are 2, 3, 5, 6. These have to be from 2, 3, 5 and 6. That can't be 5. Oh, no, none of these can be 5. Because they all see a vault, or they're all touching a vault that has a 5 in it. So that is a 2, 3... Oh, this is... Oh, I've broken it. No, I've absolutely... Oh, no, I haven't broken it. Hang on, have I broken it or not? 2, 3, 5, 6... These are a 2, 3, 6 triple, so that can be 5, it seems. That can be 4, apparently, without breaking the world. So that's a 4 and that's a 1, if that's correct. This square here has got to be a 7 or an 8. Whatever that digit is... No, this is broken. This is broken. I've made a mistake here. Because whatever that digit is, can't appear in that triple at all. So something's gone very badly awry here. Because this cannot be a 2, 3... It cannot be a 2, 3, whatever I said, 5, 6 quadruple. So what did I miss there? What have I not understood? Ah! This digit is the key. That is, I'd assumed this digit was touching this vault. Of course it's not. So for those 2 digits, it is true to say they can only be 2, 3 or 6. For this one, it is not true at all. But that's sort of weird. And well, it's a relief, but it's also released all the pressure, hasn't it? So this digit now, it can't be 1. It might be able to be 2 or 3 now, depending on whether there's a 2 or a 3 in there. I don't know. It can't be 4. There's definitely 4 in there. It can't be 5. Can it be 6? The answer to that is I just don't know. I think probably it can then. And that one, but this one could be 7 or 8 as well. So that one has no pressure on it at all. That's so strange. That's so strange. Okay. What about... what about... Well, hang on. Here is a weird point. Right, how could there be a 2 or a 3 in here that's different from that 2 or 3? I don't think there can be, because if there was a 2 or a 3 here, if this vault contained a 2 and a 3, both of those digits would be a 6. That doesn't work. So that means that there must be either a 4-5 pair here, or if there is a 2 or a 3, it's the same as that. Whoa, this is getting really confusing. It's getting really confusing. Okay, so I don't really know what to do with that. Well, although... yes, what it does mean is that there is a 6 in one of these two cells. Because if there was no 6, this would be a 2-3 pair, and whatever this was couldn't appear in those cells because these are attached to the vault. So there is a 6 in one of those, which means there's not a 6 here. So that's a tiny deduction. Whoa, what did I do there? I was trying to get rid of a 6 in that cell. I think I failed. So that's become 2, 3, 7 or 8 now. And that can't be 2 or 3, can it? Because if that is 2 or 3, I've got exactly the same problem I had when this was 2, 3 or 6. I.e. there's a 2, 3, 6 triple touching this, and that cell's got no possible fill. So this is a 7 or an 8. None of this is doing me any good. It's all like really, it feels very clever in terms of the setting of the puzzle, but it doesn't actually help me solve the puzzle. So, what on earth do I look at now? Is there something? Well, there must be a lot of things that we're missing, or I'm missing. What about 1? Has to be in one of those cells I've just seen. Is that helpful? Yes, because now where does 1 go in this column? It's got to go here. It's the only place it can go. So these are not 1. So this is a 1. Is that doing anything? Don't think so. Let's tidy up some pencil marks in case that reveals the world. I don't see. I still don't see. We can now argue about 1, 2, 3, 4 in this row. So these squares have got to be from 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Is there any restriction on those? I don't think these are seeing anything clever, so I don't think there is. Oh no, hang on. That's not true. I've just realised I've got a 4, 7, 8 triple there. So these are restricted. These are very restricted. These digits have got to be from 5, 6 and 9 by Sudoku. That feels better, doesn't it? What can we do with that? There's almost the bones of quadruples and triples going on. Alright, here's a small deduction for what it's worth. Where does 4 go in this box in one of those two squares? Where does 4 go in this box, one of those two squares? So where does 4 go in this column? Exactly here. That's got to be a 4. So that's not a 4. So now, 2, 3, I've got a 2, right, now I've got a 2, 3, 5, 6 quadruple in that box. So there's got to be a 5 in here, which means there's no 5 here or here. Here we go. And these squares have got to be from 1, 7 and 8, which gives me a 1, 7, 8 triple in this row. Oh my goodness. Right, and here you go. Here is a little point. Right, there's a 2 or a 3 in one of these two cells. Is it the same as this? Well, the answer is yes, isn't it? Because if again, if there was a 2-3 pair in this vault, this square cannot be a 2-3, and this square cannot be a 2-3, and this would be a double 6, which won't work. So whatever is in here is in there. There is the same digit. So that means that this digit, yeah, so where does that purple digit go in box 9? It's got to go there. So that's not a 5 or a 6 anymore. This is a 2 or a 3. That's disappointing, isn't it? Has that resolved the world? Of course it hasn't. Of course it hasn't. I've got two. I sort of feel like there's sort of all sorts of possibilities for naked singles and stuff in this column. I just can't see where they finally live. That can't be a 1, can it? Because there is a 1 in this vault, so that's not a 1. Which means that's got to be a 1, I think. That's a 1, that's a 4. This is huge. Is this huge? That's a 4. I've got a 7, 8 now in this box. How many 1s have we got in the puzzle? No, I haven't got all of them. I've got a little X-wing of 1s left over here. 4s. I've got a 7, 8 pair here, so that can't be a 7 or an 8. I've got a 2, 3 pair in this column now, so that... Oh, that's lovely. Right, so I've got a 2, 3 pair here, so that's become a 6, which means that's not a 6. Is that important? So now I've got a 6 in one of these two cells by Sudoku. This square can't be a 6 anymore. Oh, this 6 is doing some work at the top. That's 6, that's 9, that's 5 apparently. That's 6. Oh, this is massive. This is 9. And now that's 5. And if that's 5, that square has got to be a 3 to make this add up to 8. So that's a 2. So that's a 2 apparently. So that's a 3, which means that's a 2 and that's a 3. This is starting to go a bit faster all of a sudden. That's a 3. It is going. That's a 2. I've now got a 7, 8 pair up here. Can I do something with this? Well, yes, that's a 3, and 3 is purple, so that's a 3. So there's no 2 in there, which means that's a 2. This 3 is telling me that's a 3 and that's a 5. Therefore, that's a 5 and that's a 9. Is it cracked? Or have I cracked? That's probably much more likely. That's a 7 or an 8. This is it's a strange and wonderful puzzle, because it was the yin-yang part of it was sort of very intuitive. I felt I could do that even in my drunk state. But this weird Sudoku thing that's been going on since then has totally discombobulated me. This is now a 4, 5 pair. There's a 5 there, so that's 5 and that's 4. That's 4 and that's 1. So that's 9. That's 4 and that's 1. What's going on now? How come I can just do it? These squares have got to be 7, 8 and 9. What's going on there? Oh, I know, it's the 16 clue. That's got to be an 8 to make that add up to 16, so that's a 7. I've got an 8, 9 pair over here. I've got a 7 here, I've got an 8 here, I've got an 8 here, I've got a 7 here. I think it's done. Actually, that's probably silly to say that, because it might not be done, but it does sort of feel like the things are resolving themselves for the first time, doesn't it? So these squares have got to be 5, 6 and 8. So that's a 5. This is a 6, 8 pair, so we can do that. That's got to be 6, that's got to be 8, so that's 7. That's got to be 8, that's got to be 9, so that's got to be 7. 7 and 8 go in. This becomes an 8, 9 pair, which we seem to be able to do. I need to put a 6 in, that's got to go here, and I need to put a 7 in, and that's got to go here. Now, have I just finished? Oh, no, I haven't. I've not done the yin-yang. There's need the 2. That's got to be shaded. That's got to be unshaded. Let's get rid of the purplification to avoid the sullying the grid. Is that the puzzle done? It seems to be. How did that work? I've got to get off. I've got to record this and then upload it. This video is going to be late tonight. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much if you stuck with me. I apologise for everything. I'm so sorry. Bye for now. Back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.